the first part. Welcome to the Empower Hour. I am Al Kumar.
And I am Hanifa.
And we are your hosts each and every Monday at 8 p.m., where we come to you with impactful topics of discussion that affect our everyday lives. This week will be no different. We are here to talk to you today about the cost of freedom. We put out a new flash. Anybody out there that has been or is being affected by your job or your schooling, that they are requiring you to take this jab in order to keep your job or go back to school, we wanted to hear from you tonight, specifically, because that is what our conversation is going to be geared. We are here to take this jab in order to keep your job.
Let me turn this
go
down.
back
Sorry.
to school. We wanted to hear from you tonight.
There we go. Can you hear me, Alkama?
I can hear you just fine. Conversation is going to be
geared.
So, family, if you have family members out there that is in that predicament, have them tune in because we want to talk a little more. We want to, come and make it a community forum, get your concerns out, your frustrations out. Maybe you have some suggestions for other people. Maybe you've been through it, or maybe you've done something successfully that nobody else have considered. That is our conversation, the cost of freedom. Hanifa, how you feeling?
Hey, this thing, I'm still trying my light thing is in my camera. I'm okay. How are you?
Good. It's one of them days. Maybe it's because it's been a couple weeks since we've been on, and maybe that's what it is. We kind of a little rusty.
Whole lot of things going on.
I know, right? All at the same time. We're a little rusty. Bear with us, family. We apologize.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So, how you feeling?
I'm okay. I'm a little bit tired today, but I'm okay otherwise.
Yeah.
I could feel
a good program last night. We held a town hall meeting last night, and Hanifa co-hosted it along with the owner of Everlasting Life, Dr. Baruch, and there was a lot of good stuff. A lot of people came out.
Yeah.
It was a packed room.
I think we're gonna see more people as the time goes on, and as things get crazier and crazier.
Mm-hmm.
I think more people are going to be trying to connect with others. So I agree. Tonight was a good. Last night was a good show out.
Yeah.
One of the things that I was looking at though is kind of the demographic. I was just like, where are the young people at? Who are, that's something I kind of took note of as well. I wonder what's going on with that demographic. Like, is it just that they're complying, or I wasn't sure.
You know what? I'm thinking usually in the young age bracket, they tend to have the jobs that not the higher career standard jobs, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they're in a position where if they have lost their job because of the jab, they can more readily and more easily find a replacement. Versus, I don't know, I'm just on my head. That could be it, where they're like not so concerned as somebody who's been in their position 20, 30, 40 years, like yourself. It was 10 years. Do you want to share with the audience your personal story?
Again?
I know, but I mean, it is the topic.
Yeah, I mean, I would be one of those people who who are affected by the mandate. My job did mandate it, and I'm just not getting vaccinated. And so, which then brought an end to my employment with that agency. I know there's probably some others as well who will be dealing with the same thing. I mean, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to say about this right here. For me, it's just more so like, if you have strong convictions around this vaccination or any other vaccinations, even if you've had a vaccination the week before and you just have your own convictions about around this particular vaccination, like you have your own convictions, you should not be forced to have to override or ignore those convictions, right? For the sake of compliance, you know? If someone puts a vaccine out there, like there is an influenza vaccine that if you actually go to your PCP, which I go, if not every 6 months, every year, I would say every year I see my, I would see my primary care physician. And usually around flu season, they ask you, do you want to take the flu vaccine? That is optional, right? Jobs are not, well, at least mine wasn't. It wasn't mandatory that you do so. So if it's on the table and it's optional, then I think people should be able to take it at their own volition of their own will, right? And that's why I feel about people who are actually taking or deciding to actually get the vaccine. I don't feel any way towards you for making that decision. I don't feel any way towards any particular person. The only time that I draw the line around that is more so when those people begin to express, or you could tell they feel morally or intellectually superior to those who have chosen not to be vaccinated, right?
Let's talk about that a little
Yeah.
bit. And why do you think that is? Why do you think that, you know what I'm saying, that is? That people will feel morally superior to somebody else who decided that they didn't want to do that?
Well, because it's this thing of, I think from the conversations that I've been seeing happening, I'm feeling like there's a lot of people who are, well, think about it this way. You have these educated people, scientists, medical doctors, PhDs, right? So let's say you're the average person, right? Or maybe you're educated, you have some college degrees, but you're still the everyday average person. You are more likely, if you want to feel like you're doing the right thing, you're more likely to align, at least with the country that we live in and how we hold up certain degrees and education. And, it's all connected, by the way. The way the system works, right, it has a part to play in this as well. So yeah, if you align with these PhDs and these scientists and these highly educated people, then you feel, that you're making a smart decision, So then if you are making a smart decision, what does that make the people who are making the decision that's opposite of yours in your eyes, right? And then I also think that we live in a society where the way the societies function, set up, I mean, we could start from as young as grade school, the grading system. Like there's so many things that tie into what we're seeing now. You live in a society that the type of society we live in, people are feeling like, I don't know how to say it. I guess I'm lost for words on this one, because I guess what I'm trying to explain is, it's not coming to me. I'm gonna get back to it, Alchema. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get back to it.
That's fine. That's fine. So here we are in a predicament where the nation is even more divided. Like you said, you have some who feel like, both sides are very strong in their convictions, and what I find the most fascinating is that as opposed to both, because there's highly educated individuals.
Wait, before I lose this thought, I'm sorry. In this society that we live in, people are always trying to find a way to be superior to somebody else, be better than somebody else. People will use any opportunity to do that. But again, that's because of the way the system is set up that we live in. It all contributes to what we're seeing right now. It is no different, not because there's a pandemic, you know what I mean? Those people who will always find a way to utilize some circumstance or something going on to one up somebody else, right? Or to show that they're the smarter person or the less selfish person, because that's the terminology, that's the terms that people are throwing out as it pertains to people who have chosen not to get the injection. Oh, well, you know, you don't care about the collective then, right? You only care about yourself. You know what I mean? So any way to feel like you are better than, even
how does
a pandemic.
How does the media play a role in that though? Because if the media is pumping out in their airwaves that we are those who choose not to get the jab are the reason why people are dying and the reason why we can't get back to some sense of normalcy. And so they, you know, and when you hear that over and over and over and over again repetitively, and people, you know, we all know it's just like anything else. If you repeat it long enough, it becomes the truth, whether it's the truth or not. It's like, you know, anything else. You repeat it in school and it sticks. And then on top of that, you have half of the populace agreeing on the same concept. And so now you're looking at the other person like, my life could be a lot better right now if you would simply do as they say, do what the rest of us are doing. But the fascinating thing for me is that because it's such a wide divide, and because those on the opposite end, they're not just deciding, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna be rebellious, and you know, because it's a lot of sacrifice that comes with. I mean, look at all the things that they're stripping us of, and despite all that, people are still saying no. And so you have to really stop and question, well, wow, you're willing to lose your job. You're willing to not even be able to go back to school. You're willing to do all these things as opposed to just doing what they say. Then a critical thinking mind would say, well, wow, well, why is that? And that's what I find we're not doing. You're nowhere on the main platforms are they saying, okay, let's sit down and have a heart-to-heart discussion with all these doctors and all these scientists from one end of the spectrum, with all the doctors and all the scientists from the other end of the spectrum, and let's hash it out and see why. Why are you guys deciding that? But instead of going that route, you shut down a whole half of the you know, the voices of those who dissent. You shut them down, you block them, you censor them, you call them names, you create a war against them, according to the President of the United States. Why not do what you do every day down on Capitol Hill when you go down and to create a law and y'all go down on the floor and debate it out? Why now is that not an option? Especially when so many people are screaming to be heard. Those are the critical things that I think people don't consider, you know? And so when the other side is saying, hey, look, we have there's Nobel Prize winning scientists out here that's telling you that got some information that the mainstream is not sharing. Here, listen to this. And instead of listening to them, we censor them. Or they censor them.
Yeah, I think added to that list that you were talking about is the ostracization that's happening, the ostracizing and the othering of people who have chosen a different path. That should be a red flag for anyone, you know. But I think like you are seeing, not everyone, because there are some people that I know who have been vaccinated and they got the vaccine, but they're anti-mandate. Okay. But there are those who got the vaccine and they are like sold. They've bought into it 100%, you know, to where they are now actually causing a divide in their own family units, right? To where it's sort of like, Well, I'm not bringing my children. They're saying this to some grandparents. Some grandparents are saying, if you're not vaccinated, you guys cannot come and visit me. So now if I can't come and visit you, my children can't see you.
Mm.
Because I ain't sending them on the plane to you alone. I have little ones. So if I'm restricted from coming to visit you, then that means that your grandchildren can't see you either, right? So there's some sacrifices I think that people who are vaccinated are actually willing to take. Because remember, there are two sides that you're talking about. There are people who are vaccinated who are willing to take those sacrifices.
Mm-hmm.
If it means that I'm standing my ground and vaccinations is what's needed, and it means that I'm not going to see my children or my grandchildren for a while, so be it. There are some people on that side of it as well, and they're vaccinated people, you know. But when you get into where it's like, yes, affect people's livelihoods, right? Stop them from entering grocery stores, you know, restaurants. I mean, you can go down the list of things, certain recreational activities that might be taking place in indoor facilities, right? I mean, you could go down the list of different things. Travel, we talk
They're
about
working on that
travel.
now.
Right. So
rolled out today that's saying that
right.
it's going to be easier for the vaccinated to travel than the unvaccinated.
Right. And children not being able to participate in sports, not being able to go to school. Imagine a child who has worked all through high school to maintain their grades to get into a certain college, because maybe the college offers the best program, right? For whatever it is they want to study. It could be to become a doctor even. It could be to become a scientist. Right. So imagine doing all of that only to be told now that you cannot continue, or you may not be able to go to this college unless you're vaccinated, you know? And we shouldn't be okay with that. We shouldn't be okay with that. I don't care who you are.
Right.
No one, right.
Nobody.
Right.
Because my mind goes to if what you are suggesting is supposedly for the best of the country overall, then how is stripping people of their jobs and their education good for the country overall? You know what I'm saying? How are you in one hand claiming that you're doing this to help, and in the other hand, you're hurting me?
Because I don't think that I'm just gonna call it what it is. It's violent. It's violent. This is violence.
Coercion. And how is it that people are cool with that and actually are like joining in on that? Yeah, they don't deserve to go to the ball. Yeah, they don't deserve it. Leave their asses at home. Make them, you know, and after a while, where does that conversation go? Yeah, lock them up. Yeah, put them in the camp. You know what I'm saying? So right. When do you stop and put a pause on your own self and say, wait a minute, what am I suggesting here?
Yeah. I don't know who this is. It looks like a troll in our comment section. So I'm just working on that, Alkama. Sorry.
Oh, he might have to be blocked.
Okay.
Yeah, let me block this.
I got it.
You got him?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry about that, family. Yeah, we got some out here that, and you know, that's what I mean. You know what I'm saying? That's what I mean. And they, you know, people come out of the woodwork with so much anger and aggression. It's like, why can't we have conversations? Why can't people ask simple, logical, critical thinking questions about what's going on here without a whole mob of people coming at them? You know what I'm saying? In theory, what is that about?
Well, you see what's happening with the, what is it? Nicki Minaj.
Yeah, good example.
Right. For example, so one of the things that I realized with that is that people have dismissed her simply because she's had plastic surgery done, right? And it's sort of like, you're not concerned about no vaccine. You weren't concerned about it when you was putting those injections in your body and so forth, right? And I'm just like that, like they are dragging her because of how big of a following she have. And it's really an issue for her to even get online and even like question, right? That's problematic, okay? Because she has such a huge following, right? So it's sort of like, no, we don't want to have that conversation. Don't put that out there because now you have a big following, which means you have influence, right? And we don't want anyone out there thinking for themselves. So now you have people that look like her and look like you and I that decide that they're going to jump on that bandwagon. So, you know, if you choose to be vaccinated, that's fine, right? But that lady is simply saying, okay, the gala required that we get vaccinated. Okay, I choose not to show up. I am still doing my research. You know, well, there's nothing wrong with that. But when people say they're still doing their research or people are COVID vaccine hesitant, right? People are really upset about that. They are really upset about that. And I'm finding that the people who are mostly upset are people who literally ran and got the vaccine before it was even approved. Because you got to remember, when they first released the vaccines, there are people who ran and got it before. And at that time, the narrative was, and I don't care what anyone said, if you go back, you will see the narrative or what the rhetoric was that what they were talking about was, you're going to be okay if you get the vaccine. That was at the beginning. Since then, that has changed tremendously.
Multiple times.
Right. But by that time now, so many people had already gone and got it. So then now it come out and it's like, oh, this is a different variant. Right. And now you guys who went and got the vaccine in its experimental stages.
It's still experimental stage, but we can get into
right. No, of course. I'm just saying, like in the beginning. Now they're saying to you, those of you who went and get it, now you might need to get some boosters because what you got can't protect you from this variant, right? Now it's coming out that people are still catching it. People are still spreading it while being vaccinated.
People are still dying.
People are still dying. People are dying of all sorts of adverse reactions and so forth. So there are a lot of people. There's a lot of people that went and got, and let me tell you what those people mindset was when they went to get the vaccine at so early. They really believed if we had all went to get it, things would go back to normal. That's really what that was about. And so I understood their frustration in the beginning, which was, can you guys just go and do it so we could get back to normal? And I'm just like, you only think that way if you really believe, right, that this particular, what's happening is actually about COVID-19. That's the only way you could even be talking like that. There is no normal to go back to. That's done. Let it go. Let it go. Right? Most of us, we don't want to pivot. Right? There's things that have shifted, and most of us don't want to shift because it makes us uncomfortable. You know what I mean?
That's why we want to get back to normal, quote unquote.
Yeah, whatever that normal is, you know, like you are literally upset at people because you can't travel the way that you used to travel. And so now that becomes a thing of, because once you believe that, Alkema, you start to look at the people who are refusing to be vaccinated as the enemy.
Yeah.
You start to look at them as a threat.
It's your fault that my life.
And we got to be careful. We got to be careful with that. Because at the end of the day, like, you could be vaccinated, but you have to see that there's some sort of agenda that's pushing this mandate. You have to see that. You clearly,
because the goalpost keeps changing. The goalpost keeps changing. You know what I'm saying? It's like every 5 seconds there's something new, and it's always discombobulated. It's meant to confuse. It's a deliberate attempt to confuse, because as long as you're confused and discombobulated and not sure about what's going on, then the agenda goes under the radar, because you never get a clear and concise understanding. However, those who've been screaming about this for years, for decades, for day one, wrote books about it. You know what I'm saying? That, you know, all that stuff, been telling us, warning us, preparing us, letting us know this day was coming. And here we are. And every single thing they said was going to take place is currently taking place. And so those people with those minds and those other people who listen to those with those minds see it in a whole different light. And so, and, you know, and those are the ones that are being censored. They're being censored, they're being shut down. And a critical mind would ask, well, why? Why is that? Why is, if millions of people, we're talking millions of people all over the world are rising up and pushing back vehemently, saying, no way, over my dead body. You know what I'm saying? A critical mind would say, well, pause. Millions of people? Not dozens of people, not hundreds of people, not thousands, but millions of people? What do these millions of people know that I don't? Because it's their voices can't, their voices are being shut out. So you can't get the same information that we're trying to scream to the general public, because we're being shut down and saying, don't listen to them, just go and get the jab. Just go and get the jab. And so here we are in a complete, even more divided, even more separated. It's a war. It's like you turn on the news and the news is telling you to war with the unvaccinated. Literally use the words. This is a war against the unvaccinated. Good God Almighty, the president of the United States says that about its own citizens. Come on, family. We got to come on. We got to use our brains critically. We have to, and it's too much information, evidence that cannot be disputed. You have all types of scientists and doctors coming out screaming the alarm, and they're out there. You know, they're getting the word is out there for those who really take the time to go and find them out, because you can't find them by turning on the TV. You can't find them by listening to your favorite radio host. You know what I'm saying? Because anything that the corporate owned media is spewing out is one agenda and one agenda only.
One of the things that I'm thinking of, even as I'm listening to you speak, I just thought, as coming to the ending of what you just said, you know, the idea that
yeah, Kenny,
the idea that people who decide to get this injection,
I hear you,
they got the injection and they actually are saying to those who decide not to get the injection that you guys are listening to a whole bunch of misinformation. And my question to them is, what make you think that you haven't been misinformed? Why are you so sure that you have not been misinformed? Because why? Because why? The information is coming from a certain person who said this is the expert, this is the expertise. Like, what makes you think that perhaps you have not also been misinformed, or that you are not the misinformed one? Are you 100% sure about that? Because that is what a lot of people who's got this, like, y'all are dumb. I've seen people use the word dumb to describe people who choose. At the end of the day, and I've been in conversations and people are discussing why people shouldn't get the vaccine, and they're using things like, you know, the ingredients and what the results of those ingredients enter in the body and all of those things. And for me, at the end of the day, I'm just like, at the end of the day, you have a right to your own sovereignty. No one should be able to take that away from you. And it will come at a cost, because it is not cheap. Your freedom has never been cheap. It is a very expensive thing, because those who wish to rule over you and to control you are going to fight to the end to get that result. Okay? So my thing is whether it has conflicts in it, okay, or it has pig, I don't know, intestines in it. At the end of the day, no one should be forced. Just like you have my body, my choice. Okay. And I am dying laughing at people because when this comes up, they're like, this is something completely different. No, it still boils down to choice. It still boils down to choice. Majority of the people that look like you and I, that vote Democrat all the time. It doesn't matter what's going on. And so when they start to talk about, yeah, well, they're pro-choice, but what does pro-choice really mean to you? Does it only apply in the case of abortion? Or is pro-choice, period? Someone having the ability to choose for themselves. You understand what I'm saying? That should never be snatched away from anyone. And even in the case of this pandemic. So then now I heard someone say, well, it's different because, you know, me getting an abortion doesn't affect anybody else around you. But here's the reality. You being vaccinated, right? It's still affecting the people around you because you can still get it and you can still transfer it to others. You can still spread it. So what are we really talking about here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And as time goes on, more and more information is coming out. But for me, I'm just like, nah, I should be able to choose what goes into my body. You know, people are making arguments like, I've seen these memes. Oh, you guys eating McDonald's every day, and now you concerned about what goes into. That's still choice. That person still, no one is saying to them, if you eat McDonald's, you're going to be jailed. That person still has the choice, the liberty to choose McDonald's or to decide to choose something else. That's the part, that's what makes those memes so idiotic. I'm just like, no, we're not doing this. That person still gets to choose. In the case of this injection, they are pressuring people. They are coming in on people. They're coercing people, which to me, I'm going to keep saying this, it is violence.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And if people really completely understood and see what happens is, those who chose not to get the vaccination have good reason. They're not just, like I said, they're not just this wake up one day and say, you know what, I'm going to risk it all just to not get this vaccine. Because people were saying, you know, well, what's the problem? We've all been vaccinated in our childhood, and you know, that's another talking point, you know. And my response to that is always, it's not the same ingredient. The same ingredient, when you break down the messenger RNA and what's in these jabs, it's not the same ingredients that was in the vaccinations prior to. That's why it is an experimentation drug, because it's never been done before. So then you have to ask them, what is this new form, this new strain? And so what I find is that those who decided that they, on their own autonomy, that they're not wanting this new technology into their system, you know, it was because they've done their homework. They know, they realize what the heck it is. They've actually went and found out, you know, the details surrounding what messenger RNA is. What does it do? What does the spike protein do to your body? And you know what I'm saying? And things like that. And so versus just having one narrative, you know, having one narrative of just go get it so we can all go back to normal. Well, wait a minute, pause. Let's put the pause on it. Could this be harmful? Could this be deadly? Could this experiment that we're all, you know, jumping in on, could this be part of a even bigger agenda at play? And I think those who decide to take their critical thinking minds and weigh both sides is the ones who come up to decide, well, no, I'm not willing to do that. And so when you don't do that, and you only have the one narrative, and you decide and you choose to take it upon yourself that you don't want to hear nothing nobody else has to say, because like you said, you've already ran out there and took it, and now you have to stand firm in your conviction. And now, you know what I'm saying? And most people have a serious problem with admitting to their own mistakes. Not even a jab, but anything, you know what I'm saying? You know, just come out and say, you know what, I was wrong and you was right. most people not willing to do that. They don't, their egos won't allow it. And so now they have to stand firm in what they've done, even if it means twisting and contorting and pretending that what's right in front of our eyes is not even in front of our eyes. If that means that I have to be right about this.
But even the argument of you guys have had vaccines when you're younger is a very immature one. It's very immature, because you're talking to people who are probably in their 50s, their 60s, right? Their 40s, that may have not been vaccinated in like over 20, 30, years. These are the people you're asking that. People who their parents were responsible for their well-being at that time, who are now grown adults. Right. And it's now able to exercise their own rights and to decide for themselves.
And do their own research.
Thank you. So that right there, I think is really, I'm going to go ahead and say it's really petty. It's really, really petty when people ask that question. And then the second thing I wanted to address was, Alkama, I'll be honest with you, if someone lived off the grid in the woods somewhere, they have no access to all this social media, none of that. They're just out there living their life and they have no idea this is going on. Okay, none. They don't have the information. They don't know anything about the vaccine, none of that. And that person gets a knock at their door and someone say, we here to give you this injection. That person, without having any knowledge of what that injection is, none of it, they still have the right to say no. An illiterate person who cannot read the ingredients in a vaccine, who cannot read the news, who cannot comprehend, right, the words that are coming out of these scientists' mouth, still have the right to decide against allowing it in their bodies. Okay, this thing that we discussed, a lot of people are saying, well, even if you never did any research, it could be just an inclination. It could be something in your gut that's saying no. You have a right to decide against it.
That's freedom.
Don't let people cower you into a corner or shame you into a corner or into getting this vaccine by telling you you are dumb and you are stupid and you are misinformed and you haven't done any real research. Don't allow people to shame you into a corner, because here's what you have. Even if you don't have all the information, here's what you have. You have the right to choose.
Free will. That's a God-given gift.
That's it.
Free will.
Your right to choose, your right to your choice is a birthright.
That's right.
It is a birthright. It is not given to you and it's not taken away from you unless it's by force. Okay, which is what's happening right now. So I just wanted to say that, like, even if you don't have all the information, you have something within you that we all have, by the way, that might be saying to you, don't feel any type of way when you're in conversations and people are, they might have more degrees than you, they might have more education than you, and they are now telling you you are misinformed or you don't have all the information. And so therefore you might as well. So in other words, they're saying to you, because you don't have all the information and because you haven't really done your research, you might as well just go ahead and take it. That's really essentially what they're saying, which makes no sense. So it comes down to control. By the way, the micro is a direct reflection of the macro. People who are actually trying to convince others that just do it so we go, this is a form of control. People are upset because they cannot control others.
That's right.
Just like the society that we are existing in. There's no way for you to live in this society and go unscathed. It affects you. You become a reflection of that.
That's right.
Eventually, and you're seeing it play out. Even you and I, as we're talking, I'm showing our lives. I know I have to check myself sometimes and be like, no, that's not right. But in your mind, you've convinced yourself like, no, this is how it is, because that is what influence is. You cannot live in this society and be unaffected psychologically. It's impossible. This need for control, it transcends so much. It's not just in this time. We see it in how we do relationships. We see it in how we interact with each other. We see it in religion. We see it in some forms of spirituality, right?
We see it in law enforcement.
We see it in law enforcement. We see it in the school system. We see it in politics. I mean, we could go on and on.
The prison system.
People are just reflecting that right now. So they're upset with their neighbor because they can't convince their neighbor to do what they did. That is control. That is control. And if you don't do inner work around that, you're gonna find yourself constantly stressed and frustrated and constantly separating yourself from other people simply because they won't do what you say. As for Black people, as for people that look like you and I, my thing to us, to our people, we cannot afford to allow this to divide us any further than we are already divided. Okay? We just cannot, whether we are vaccinated or not. We just cannot. We still have to be able to pull together. Put aside your own need to control. Put aside what the politicians say. At the end of the day, if you are someone that you are about Black empowerment, right, and liberation, right, and collectivism and unity, as far as our people are concerned, this is not the time for you to allow this to separate you from your people. That's it. Yeah. Because the reality is, if you're vaccinated, you can get it. And this is the thing. They're saying, oh well, it decreases the chance of you dying. That's a whole other conversation. I don't even know if you want to touch on that, but I just cannot.
What? Not being vaccinated?
No, of people saying that if you are vaccinated, so now you know they move the goalpost. It's no longer about protection. It's about decreasing your chances of dying. Right? It decreases your chances of dying. So now that's where it's come to now. Because once they realize that people who were vaccinated are still getting it, now it's like, well, we never said it's going to protect you from it. What we said is it's going to decrease your chances of dying.
But people still dying though, Hanifa. That's my point. People still dying. So how is it even stopping death? It's not stopping.
But the argument is that the numbers are
lower.
Are lower. Yeah.
Tell that to those over there in Israel, where 85% of their population has been vaccinated, and they have a wave of influx of deaths, the largest COVID, quote unquote, COVID deaths that's out there right now. And they're taking this, they take Pfizer shots. The vast majority of them took Pfizer. So how is the same shots? So how is it that, you know what I'm saying, it's preventing you from dying when you got a whole swath of a population over there dying after taking the vaccination? So I mean, and then I know we're getting deeper into the whole rabbit hole, and I know a lot of
Israel.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't really, you know what I'm saying, want to go here because it's a lot involved. And if you haven't really been tuned in to the deeper aspects of what's going on, it sounds like cuckoo, it sounds conspiracy, it sounds, but you know, really, you know, once you lay it all out, it's just as plain as the light of day. You know what I'm saying? Which is why nothing makes sense.
People are just surrendering their rights, just allowing their rights to be infringed upon. Like, my thing with that is like, you know that if you do that, then tomorrow is going to be something else as well. Okay, the more you comply, the more that's going to be taken away.
And we have examples of that. We look over across the water at Australia and see what they're going on now. There's some places in Australia where people can't even go outside, Hanifa. They can't even go outside if they wanted to. And Australia just announced the other day that they're linking stronger. They're coming militarily with America. You know what I'm saying? So we got to pay attention to all of
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah.
Not just the vaccine, all of what's going on right now. And it's a lot involved, but when you're not tuned in, and anybody who's trying to warn you or trying to tell you these things that can be proven, you know what I'm saying? It's not no stuff that I'm just shooting off. Go look, go read for yourself. Go pull it up for yourself. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of things going on. You got the whole FDA, you got the Federal Food and Drug Administration, their whole advisory committee. You had a whole heap load. You had about 20 doctors and scientists, people on the ground, people in the hospitals, people working with people that's getting sick, people that know that, you know what I'm saying? These are the people, they're like 20 different, and 19 of the 20 of them is advising the FDA, don't approve this third shot because there's something seriously, drastically wrong going on. We got too many people dying from it, too many people coming down with morbidities or whatever you call it. You know what I'm saying? And these are the advisors to the FDA.
So that's the conversation that's happening around the booster. Is that why?
And yet they still approve it. You know what I'm saying? So when you find out that you only had 300 people in the testing phase for this third shot, and they want to give it to children 5 years old, but nobody younger than 12 have joined the testing phase. Why didn't you test children 65 years or older? Those are the main ones that are dying. 3 people in the whole thing, the testing phase, only 3 people 65 and older that you come and test. So you mean to tell me you're ready to stick millions of people with a shot and you only tested it on 300 people, which with the scientists are saying is unprecedented, never before. You have all these people willing, willing to sign up to be a test dummy. Why won't you use these people? And why aren't you using children in the testing, but you want to roll it out and use it on them full-fledged? All this kind of stuff.
I'm curious to know if they were not giving it to children 12 and under, why were some doctors advising pregnant women to get vaccinated like they're pregnant? So you guys were hesitant to that. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that, because there are people who have lost babies after being vaccinated. That information is out there.
I know people personally.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We have it on record. Have the woman telling the story on record. She's just one of many, dozens and dozens and dozens of people who come through the restaurant and tell us their horror stories. You know what I'm saying? And this is just one small corner of the world. Now imagine all the other people that's been coming out, but being censored and being clamped down on, their voices being clamped down. You don't hear them stories. How is it that every single pharmaceutical drug that's been known has side effects, except for this one? Nobody, or maybe with 1 or 2 people that die. How do we twist our minds to believe that? You know what I'm saying? We have all the evidence throughout history to say otherwise. Why is it that when the COVID first roared out, the children that had get infected with COVID and died is zero? No children were dying from COVID. You know what I'm saying? None. Now, all of a sudden, you want to vaccinate all the children? Why? Why when we don't have any evidence of them even needing a vaccination? What is that for? And these are the critical thoughts and critical questions that people are asking that are being shut down. Why are you being shut down? Why can't we have a discussion, a debate about this? Why can't you go?
Because it's all about just comply. Just comply. Why are you asking all these questions? What do you want to know?
That don't add up.
Like, don't you have enough information?
No.
The information is there is a pandemic, there is a virus going around, and there is a vaccine an injection that have been provided for that virus, and you need to go and take it because the scientists and the doctors are backing it. So that's it. That's all the information they want you to know. Once you start, and I can hear, I'll be on Clubhouse listening in. I can hear the anger in people's voices when someone is asking questions.
Yeah,
I
you
can
have
hear
some
the
on the
frustration.
stream. You have a stream calling us conspiracy theories, all that stuff. But
Oh,
that,
no. I don't think he's calling us that. I think he's
oh,
speaking out in general.
oh,
But
okay.
yeah, I just yeah, for me, it's just like I hear people, I'm like, someone asking you a question and you getting frustrated as a doctor or as a scientist, like why, And there are doctors who there are also doctors out there just as licensed as your doctor, who is giving you information and who might be pro-vaccine, pro-injection, but these are other doctors who are against it. Okay, it doesn't mean that they were against other vaccines, because they also give vaccines. But this particular one, there are doctors who are speaking out and saying no. So how do you decide? So are you going to call these doctors with the same degrees, same education, same licensing? Are you going to also tell them they're misinformed and uneducated and dumb? Yeah. And like, what are you going to say to what do you have to say to those people? Because clearly you are holding the doctors just because of the letters in front of their name on a pedestal, right? And also because of their education and their studies and so forth. But there are also others in their field with the same letters behind of their names. Yeah. So are you going to also tell them that they are misinformed as well?
Yeah, and then we're talking Nobel Prize winning doctors. Let's go down the list. We're talking Nobel Prize winning doctors. We're talking about the people who invented the actual COVID test that's saying, don't take it. You got the assistants, people who work with Fauci for years saying, be warned about him. So you got all these people that's closely knitted to the scenario that's sounding the alarm. And so how is it that we just decide to just ignore even those? Who else are we going to listen to if it ain't a Nobel Prize winning doctor? Or who else we going to listen to if it ain't the inventor of the actual test that they're using for COVID, that's telling you something that is not being used efficiently? You know what I'm saying? Who are we going to listen to if it ain't somebody who worked right alongside Dr. Fauci for years, that's telling you and warning you about his character? Who, if not these type of individuals, who the heck else are we going to listen to? And then you start going down the list about all the African leaders, all the African leaders that stand up and say they don't want, they're going to go another route with this thing. And they're not, they learned and got information that there's a better alternative than these pharmaceutical jabs. And so we're going to we've seen that it cures. So we don't need the jab, because what we're doing is very effective, and it's bringing our COVID numbers down. And so every last one of them, you look at, and they being taken out. How 5 African leaders in a 6-month span be killed, and every last one of them was against taking the pharmaceutical drugs from the West? We got to start putting our heads together, family, and stop, you know what I'm saying, listening to what the TV just telling us and believing that that's law. There's a whole lot going on out here that you don't have a single clue about.
Come on, I'll be honest. And I'm more of like, me already. I'm just like, okay, let's really peel back the layers here, right? These conversations where people are getting into, oh, well, you didn't do your research. The reality is that the people who say that to people who choose not to get injected didn't do their research before they got injected. That's clearly. They haven't, they didn't. So my thing is, these are surface conversations. And when I say surface, I mean, we really need to have an honest conversation around why you're not and why you are. It has nothing to do with research, nothing. If you got it, right, it's not because you believe some scientist or something. There's an other reason, okay? And we talked about it in the beginning. Be honest. You did it to keep your job. That's one. You got it because you thought that the country will go back to normalcy, or what you just define as normalcy. Okay. Those are the two things. You complied because you did not want to deal with the consequences of not complying.
Or you comply because you was afraid you were going to die.
The consequences, and in your mind, that's still a consequence of not complying. Do you get what I'm saying? What's at the root of all of that? Fear. Fear. That's it. This is like, people are getting into these debates because they're really hiding behind of misinformation versus right information. No. When we peel back the layers, your personal decision was driven by something. Okay. And by the way, there's still fear also on people who choose not to get injected. There's those who have fear there too.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Do you get what I'm saying? So what makes their fear less valid than yours? You were afraid, so you ran and you got it. Whether it's you are being afraid of the consequences of not complying, or whether you were afraid of catching it and dying. You, at the end of the day, you're still afraid. Somebody else might be afraid and say, I don't trust it. I'm willing to take my chances with my own natural immunity, right? Some people are saying, I think I have a healthy enough immune system. I'm willing to take my chances. Why are you mad about that? I can't wrap my head around that. What about that upsets you? That person is literally saying, my life and my death is in my hands. I'm choosing to take, responsibility for that. Why would that upset you?
But I think people are upset because they really bought into the notion that if I don't take the jab, I'm stopping their life from moving forward. You know what I'm saying? People have really, that's why I keep going back to how important the information is, because clearly what you are believing is coming from a source of information that's misleading. That if you believe that what I choose to do with my own body is going to affect your life in some kind of way, shape, or form, that you can't, have a healthy, wholesome, free life if I don't submit, and conform in the same manner you do.
Well, that's the narrative that's being pushed because it came from all the way to the top.
And people believe that wholeheartedly.
Right. It says he said this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. Yeah. He said that's like straight, you can't even dance around that.
Right. That doesn't even make logical sense. You can't even put a logical explanation behind how somebody healthy and whole is going to make you sick and die. That's what it boils down to. Because I'm healthy and fine, I'm going to make you sick and die. That don't even make any logical sense whatsoever. But people have been convinced of this. And that's why I keep going back to, if you don't educate yourself on the whole topic and not just half of it, we're gonna, we will contort and contwist and convince our minds of something that don't even exist. That's not reality. And
right. I think the media has done a really, really good job at creating this big monster.
It's dangerous.
Yeah, of course. But that's the job of the media, though. That's what they do. Like, there's no agenda or no agenda that's pushed without the media involvement. That's like one of the biggest weapons. That's what you do, and let's be clear, this war, this is biochemical warfare, psychological warfare, right? The war is for your consciousness, right? And so one of the things that I am encouraging people to do is to begin to raise your consciousness, right? Like the elder said last night in our tongue meeting, this is energy. This is energy. Okay. You constantly consuming all the headlines, the media, like constantly taking that in, right? Especially if you are on the fence, but even if you got it, even if you got the injection or you didn't get it, but constantly taking that in, and you know that most of the news that's being aired, that's coming over the airwaves, right, is actually pushing a certain agenda, right? This is not non-conventional news, you know. This is the news, the mainstream is what I'm trying to say, mainstream media. You constantly consuming that, and a lot of our elders are consuming that. That's what they do. They have the TV on the news all day, all night, or whatever. You know, you constantly consuming that. It actually begins to affect you.
Oh yeah.
Because you're talking about somebody's psyche, right, being affected, which then is going to affect how you behave. And so if you constantly consuming that, and you go out into the world and you're looking at people who are harmless as a threat.
Yes. Yeah.
As a threat. So yes, it's dangerous. And this is why, like, this thing of social distancing, there's a lot of things that happened leading up to this that contributed to this as well, Alkamar. The social distancing piece have put us in a position where we just were not talking to each other as much. We were not in each other's company. And so that's kind of one of the things, the problems that I'm seeing. People are not talking to each other. Okay, people are assuming, people are social distancing still, of course, and then people are also dividing themselves. Okay, I'm not coming to your house. You're not, you know, you got it. I mean, you didn't get it, so I'm not coming over there, nor can you come here. You know, people are not having the conversations that need to be had. So I know, like, I know we're at 9 o'clock. I wanted to say we have our next town hall meeting coming up here at Everlasting Life on Sunday at 5 p.m. again. This is something that we're trying to do weekly. So the reason for the town hall is to have these conversations amongst ourselves, and also to create committees to where we could depend on each other for assistance if needed. Okay, because people are being affected by this in different ways. In a lot of different ways. So we want to be able to come together as a community. It's more like a check-in. It's like, what's going on with you? What do you need? How can you contribute to the needs of others? So it's actually doing the opposite of what they want us to do. It's us saying, hey, I know we're supposed to be social distancing, but this demands that we come together. Right? This is an emergency. We are in a state of emergency.
No doubt. And
Black people has been in a state of emergency for a very, very long time. So yes, the town hall meeting, if you're in the Maryland, Virginia area, Capitol Heights, Everlasting Life Cafe, Vegan Cafe, we will be there on Sunday again at 5 p.m. So come on out. If you have something that you can offer and bring to the table, that way you can assist others. We are looking for people who might be willing to assist with childcare, make donations as far as clothing, shelter, holistic practitioners, you know, to give advice. We're even looking for people who could give counsel, therapists, counselors, psychologists. We want all of it because we know it exists in our community. And so we're trying to bring the community together and actually function as a collective outside of other agencies. We could do this because we have the skills amongst ourselves.
Yeah, and that's where it's coming to, family. It's coming to that. We have to get closer together. We have to. We cannot let them divide us even further. You know, we can't, because, you know, that's the deterioration of our whole nation. You know, it's a deterioration process. So we can't allow somebody else to knock us off like that. We got to stand strong and collective.
And I want to speak to piggyback on what you just said too. The meeting is not about just those who are anti-jab. We are calling everyone. So, and it's also not a space if you are someone who got the injection for you to come and try to debate others about why they should. That's not what the space is about. Whether you are vax or not, we are still inviting you out, because you can be vax and be like, this mandate is so wrong. Or you could just say, I just still want to see where I can help, because people are losing their employment. And if not, they're being threatened. right? People are actually, not trying to figure out how they're going to pay their mortgage and so forth, right? And so that's kind of why we're gathering. So it's not just about those who might be against the injection. We are calling everyone who wants to help and who wants to be a part of that collective effort. Absolutely. In these times. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what time it is, family. It's only beneficial. It's only beneficial. And this is what we've been screaming for a long time. It's funny because I see everything, the flip side of everything. And so what's something you look out and look so dire and look so daunting, you know what I'm saying? But on the flip side, look, you know what I'm saying? We have the ability to recreate and reconstruct how we want, how we see fit. You know what I'm saying? Doing for ourselves and being there for each other. And that's what time it is. Well, if you have nothing more to share, I'm going to end it there as well.
Okay, I don't think I have anything else.
Thanks Kenny and Dee and Kumronk and everyone else who joined the Empower Hour this evening and shared the information. Family, please share. Our goal, Hanifa and I, is to reach as many people as possible out there. And we cannot do that without your assistance. We need you. So we thank you so much in advance for sharing this information and for jumping on with us week after week.
That's it. You finished?
Yes, I'm done.
Oh, I just was going to say, if there's anyone who's under to the title that their jobs are being threatened, be encouraged. I just went through it. We are creators. We are alchemists. This is what we do. It is in our nature to create for ourselves, to take a bad situation and turn it around for our good. That is what we've always done. The blood of those who have also done it flows through you as well. So be encouraged. And that is why the town hall and any other effort where people to come together is encouraged, because we don't want people to think that they are alone in their stance. That's something else we didn't touch on with the media. Make like they are not putting certain things out there because they want to isolate people and they want to think people are alone, want people to think that they are alone in what their stance is. They are not, you are not alone. You are not alone. Get from around people who are forcing you to go against your own convictions and your own will, and start to connect with like-minded people, because you are going to need the encouragement and the upliftment. You are not alone, and you have to start speaking life over you and your family. You guys will never go hungry. You guys will never lack. You guys are always going to be protected. Okay. Again, it's about raising the consciousness, right? Because you could be on a high vibration when things are going good, but it really matters that you stay on that vibration when it gets rough.
That's right.
That's when it really matters. So I just want to encourage someone that's listening. If you're on the fence and you're just like, I really don't want to do this, okay? Connect with some others. Come on out to the town hall. There's a lot of resources that were shared from our first town hall meeting. Other jobs that you can apply for, whether it's remotely, ways that maybe we can start sharing information, ways in which you could start to create income for yourself and for your family. You know what I mean? It might require some sacrifices, but that's a part of it. Okay, the world is shifting. You're going to have to shift too. And that not just your body as far as moving, but your mindset is going to have to shift. You might have to go up a little higher so you can get a clearer view of what's going on. There's nothing like an aerial view, What you see on the ground walking, when you get up in that airplane, it looks completely different. You be in that airplane like, what is that? I didn't even know that was there.
It's so small.
It's so small. Not just that, what's that building? I've never seen that building before, but that aerial view gives you a view like no other, and you can see it better and clearer, and you start to notice things from that view that you didn't notice from the ground. You understand what I'm saying? So it's about raising your consciousness and connecting with others, like-minded people who are doing the same thing. So I just wanted to add that in Alchema.
That's good stuff, Hanifa. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, family, we leave it right there. That's it for me.
Yeah, that's it. I'm good.
All right, family. Until next week, take care of each other out there. Peace.
Peace.